Hi everyone, glad to see you back on the channel. Today we're going deep inside Taiwan's new strategy to defeat China's invasion. And this is one of the most important military and geopolitical stories unfolding in the world right now. For decades, the balance across the Taiwan Strait was shaped by traditional power comparisons, big ships, fighter jets, and the assumption that whoever had more hardware would eventually dominate. That thinking is now being completely rewritten. Taiwan understands that it cannot and does not need to match China tank for tank or ship for ship. Instead, it is reshaping the entire battlefield in ways that could make an invasion so costly and chaotic that Beijing may never dare to attempt it. At the heart of Taiwan's strategy is a simple but powerful idea. If China ever launches an invasion, the goal is not to defeat the Chinese military in a conventional head-on clash. The goal is to deny China a quick victory. Every modern military planner knows that speed is everything in an amphibious invasion. If Taiwan can slow China down, disrupt its plans, and drag the conflict into weeks rather than days, international pressure, economic collapse, and military escalation would turn the invasion into a nightmare for Beijing. This is why Taiwan has moved away from the idea of meeting China at the shoreline with large formations and instead focuses on what it calls a layered defense. The first layer begins long before Chinese troops ever approach Taiwan's beaches. Intelligence, surveillance, and early warning systems are being expanded to detect Chinese movements in real time. Satellites, drones, underwater sensors, and radar networks are all part of a growing web designed to ensure that Taiwan is never surprised. Taiwan has learned a critical lesson from recent conflicts around the world. Wars are no longer won by who has the biggest weapons, but by who has the best information. Knowing where the enemy is, what they are planning, and when they intend to move allows smaller forces to punch far above their weight. Taiwan's strategy is built on turning information into a weapon. Another central pillar of this new approach is the shift toward asymmetric warfare. Instead of relying on expensive platforms that can be easily targeted, Taiwan is investing heavily in large numbers of smaller, cheaper, and more survivable systems. These include mobile missile launchers, armed drones, fast attack boats, and portable air defense weapons. The idea is to flood the battlefield with threats that are difficult to find and even harder to eliminate. China's military doctrine relies heavily on overwhelming force. It assumes that massive missile strikes and air superiority will cripple defenses quickly. Taiwan is deliberately designing its forces to survive that initial shock. Mobile units that can hide, relocate, and strike unexpectedly are far more difficult to neutralize than fixed bases and large ships. One of the most dangerous moments in any invasion is the crossing itself. Moving troops, tanks, and supplies across the Taiwan Strait would be an enormous logistical challenge for China. Taiwan's strategy focuses intensely on turning the strait into a killing zone. Anti-ship missiles, sea mines, submarines, and drones are all being prepared to target Chinese vessels during the crossing. Even a small number of losses at sea could have devastating psychological and operational effects on an invasion force. Sea mines in particular play a crucial role. They are relatively cheap, hard to detect, and incredibly effective at slowing or stopping naval movements. Taiwan is believed to be expanding its mine warfare capabilities to ensure that Chinese ships cannot safely approach key landing areas. Clearing mines under combat conditions is slow, dangerous, and resource-intensive, which buys Taiwan precious time. Once Chinese forces reach the shoreline, Taiwan's plan is not to stop them entirely at the beach, but to make every step inland costly. Instead of concentrating defenses in predictable locations, Taiwan is dispersing its forces throughout urban and mountainous terrain. Cities become fortresses not through massive walls, but through thousands of small units equipped with anti-armor weapons, drones, and precision-guided munitions. Urban warfare is one of the most difficult forms of combat for any military, especially one that relies on speed and coordination. Taiwan's dense cities, narrow streets, and high-rise buildings heavily favor defenders who know the terrain. Small Taiwanese units could ambush Chinese columns, disappear, and strike again, turning every block into a potential trap. Taiwan is also preparing its population, psychologically and practically, for this kind of defense. Civil defense training, emergency preparedness, and resilience planning are increasingly emphasized. The goal is to ensure that society can continue functioning even under attack, denying China the ability to quickly break morale or create chaos behind the front lines. Another key element of Taiwan's strategy is the use of precision strikes against critical Chinese assets. Rather than attempting to destroy everything, Taiwan focuses on high-value targets that disrupt command and control. This includes striking logistics hubs, communication nodes, and leadership facilities. Even limited disruption at the right moment can paralyze a much larger force. Cyber warfare is another battlefield where Taiwan is investing heavily. Any conflict would almost certainly begin with massive cyber attacks aimed at disrupting communications, power grids, and financial systems. Taiwan's strategy includes both defensive measures to keep essential services running and offensive capabilities to strike back. In modern war, digital infrastructure is just as important as physical infrastructure. Air defense plays a crucial role as well. Taiwan cannot achieve air superiority over China, but it doesn't need to. The goal is to deny China uncontested control of the air by using layered air defenses, including surfaced, air missiles, and portable systems. Taiwan aims to make Chinese air operations dangerous and unpredictable. Every aircraft China loses increases the political and military cost of the invasion. Another often overlooked aspect of Taiwan's strategy is endurance. Taiwan understands that it must be able to fight even if cut off from immediate external support. Stockpiles of ammunition, fuel, food, and medical supplies are being expanded. Redundant systems are being built so that the loss of one facility does not cripple the entire defense effort. This focus on endurance directly challenges China's assumption of a short, decisive campaign. If Taiwan can hold out long enough, the international response becomes a decisive factor. Economic sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and the possibility of military involvement by other countries would dramatically alter the strategic picture. International partnerships are therefore a silent but vital component of Taiwan's defense plan. While Taiwan avoids formal alliances that could provoke Beijing, it works closely with partners to improve interoperability, training, and intelligence sharing. This cooperation increases the uncertainty China faces when planning any military action. Taiwan's military reforms also emphasize decentralization. Command structures are being adjusted so that units can operate independently if communications are disrupted. Junior officers and non-commissioned officers are given greater authority to make decisions on the ground. This flexibility is essential in a fast, moving, and chaotic conflict environment. Technology plays a major role, but Taiwan is careful not to rely on technology alone. The lessons of recent wars show that advanced systems can fail, be jammed, or destroyed. That is why Taiwan combines high-tech tools with low-tech solutions that are resilient and adaptable. Sometimes a simple weapon in the right hands can be more effective than a complex system that cannot be maintained under fire. Taiwan's mountainous interior is another natural advantage being incorporated into the strategy. If Chinese forces push inland, they would face rugged terrain that limits movement and favors defenders. Supply lines would become stretched and vulnerable to attack. Small Taiwanese units could operate from hidden positions, striking and withdrawing repeatedly. Psychological warfare is also part of the equation. Taiwan aims to undermine the morale of invading forces by highlighting the risks and costs of the operation. Prolonged resistance, high casualties, and unclear objectives can erode the will of even the most disciplined troops. China's leadership is acutely sensitive to domestic stability. A failed or prolonged war could threaten political legitimacy at home. Taiwan's strategy is designed to exploit this vulnerability by ensuring that any invasion becomes a draw, not an highly visible struggle. Another important shift in Taiwan's approach is the integration of reserve forces. Instead of treating reserves as a secondary component, Taiwan is working to make them a meaningful part of its defense. Regular training, better equipment, and clearer roles ensure that reserves can quickly reinforce active units when needed. This transformation is not happening overnight, and Taiwan faces real challenges. Budget constraints, political debates, and the sheer scale of China's military power are constant pressures. However, the direction is clear. Taiwan is no longer trying to win a conventional arms race it cannot afford. It is redefining the rules of the conflict entirely. The message Taiwan wants to send to Beijing is straightforward. There will be no easy victory. There will be no quick collapse. Every step of the invasion will be contested. Every gain will come at a high price, and the consequences will extend far beyond the battlefield. Deterrence is ultimately the true goal of Taiwan's strategy. By making the cost of invasion unacceptably high, Taiwan hopes to prevent the war from ever starting. This is not about provoking conflict, but about preserving peace through strength and resilience. Taiwan's new strategy reflects a broader shift in modern warfare. Smaller nations facing larger adversaries are no longer powerless. With the right mix of technology, training, and determination, they can reshape the battlefield and change the calculations of even the most powerful militaries. As tensions continue across the Taiwan Strait, the success or failure of this strategy will have global implications. It will influence how other countries think about defense, deterrence, and the balance of power in the 21st century. What happens in Taiwan is not just about one island or one dispute. It is about whether force can still be used to redraw borders in a world that is deeply interconnected. Taiwan's strategy is a test case for whether resilience and smart planning can stand up to raw power. The coming years will reveal whether this approach is enough to maintain peace. But one thing is already clear. Taiwan is no longer waiting passively for events to unfold. It is actively shaping its own destiny, preparing not just to survive an invasion, but to make it a strategic failure. And that is why understanding Taiwan's new strategy is so important. It shows how modern defense is evolving, how smaller states can protect themselves, and why any attempt to invade Taiwan would be far more complex and dangerous than it might appear on paper. If there is one takeaway from all of this, it is that wars are not won by numbers alone. They are won by preparation, adaptability, and the will to resist. Taiwan is building all three into the foundation of its defense. That's all for today, and if you found this breakdown useful, make sure to stay tuned for more deep dives into the strategies shaping global security right now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel.